Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is War Stories. My name, of course, is Ryan Smelts. And in case you didn't hear the last episode, it was the second part of the MEPS adventure and how I stopped my recruiter from lying to me, or how I just made sure I didn't get lied to. I really, really appreciated my recruiter. I don't feel like I got shafted at all. So, if you want to hear that, go back and listen to the last two episodes to hear what what went on at MEPS. Today we are talking about the 43rd. So we left off yesterday where basically I got on a plane, left Raleigh, and arrived at Fort Leonard Wood. And when I got to the airport, which I'm pretty sure obviously wasn't on post, they scooped us up, had us wait in the USO. I feel like I wasn't there very long before they were essentially like, hey, the bus is here, get on the bus. Um, Looking back, I feel like the people who were, in charge, kind of scooping us up, were a little abrasive. But I would not say that they were drill sergeants or like drill sergeants. Um, at this time of night, like I said, I want to say it was like 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. I know it was late. They were probably tired of putting up with people who, like me, were leaving the civilian world, entering into the military, and had absolutely no training or experience whatsoever. So, very unorganized and whatnot. But we got on the bus. They drove us on post. We went to the 43rd, and basically getting off the bus there, once again, I don't remember them really yelling. Just extremely strict. Very much come in, sit down, do what you're told. And that's where in processing began. And so I think one of the first things was essentially, come in and sit down on the bench. And they kind of didn't really give you an option. There was a card. It was basically a prepaid card, and they were like, you are going to get in advance on your pay for I believe for the males it was like $200 or $250, and for females I think they gave them an extra $50. And the purpose of that was because there were certain things that they couldn't issue to us. Essentially, once I got through it all and kind of learned how CIF at each unit worked and whatnot, I came to realize that essentially anything that touched your skin or was maybe something that wouldn't get turned back in, so the wear and tear would pretty much cruise through it. So running shoes was one of those things. Then socks, underwear, t-shirts. For females, any feminine products. Those are things that you would have to have. They require you to have. But they didn't really care if you showed up with money or if you didn't. They were going to make sure you had enough money to purchase the things on that list. And obviously, they had the list required, optional. They knew how much it cost in the little shopette that they had there in the 43rd. They totaled that up. Once again, for males, it came to $200, $250, something like that. So you got your advance. Then you went through. There was a ton of paperwork. If you had a bank account and you had the bank information with you, then they use that to set you up with direct deposit. Even if you had a bank, if you did not have the account number and routing number with you or know what it was, it wasn't something where you could access it later. They just set you up with whatever the bank was that everybody got in basic training. They put your direct deposit there, gave you a debit card, so you automatically had direct deposit access to your money right away. And then once you got out of training and got to your unit, you could go ahead and figure out how to change that or fix it. So I was lucky enough. I was leaving for the military. I signed up for, at the time, Bank of America military banking. And once I got there, I just gave them that account number and routing number, and then of course they went through a lot of the basic stuff like ID cards. Um, excuse me. They went through glasses station that I remember. It initially, like when we were getting off the bus and we're going through this, they made sure that we had the money, the ID card, the account set up. Then I believe from there we went into amnesty. So I thought, and they told us what to put into the amnesty box. So when I was leaving, I asked my recruiter, "Hey, do I need to take anything?" And I think I kept hounding him, was like, "Hey, you know, maybe I need batteries for flashlights." And he was like, "Yeah, sure. C or D batteries, whatever the L-shaped flashlights take." He was like, "You can take those." And I was like, "All right." Toothbrush, toothpaste. When I got to the 43rd and they put us in those amnesty boxes, one of the things they told us we weren't allowed to have was batteries. So I was like, well, shoot, I was told to bring these and I bought them. I just put them in the amnesty box because I didn't want to get in trouble. And I think that was just one of those disconnects where, you know, hey, maybe we shouldn't allow people to have these, or maybe they didn't want people to have them in excess and they're not turning them into weapons. But eventually we had to have them anyways for, once again, the L-shaped flashlights. So went into the amnesty box. You know, come to find out later, it was more for people with weapons or drugs or maybe prescription medication that they weren't prescribed. Put it in the amnesty box. And then from there, they gave us some basics. So we got kind of PT shorts and shirts. I believe we got our haircut that night as well. Obviously, just everybody gets the same buzz cut. You had to pay for that, $4 or whatever it was. So that was factored into the advance, and they just use your card. I thought that was crazy, but haircut you're required to have, but we're gonna make you pay for it. Whatever. And then that number, of course, continued to increase as I went through training and got to my duty station. The worst, absolute worst haircut you can get is at the AFES PX, BX, shop at whatever. And they always, the prices were always going up. And I just thought that was, I found way better haircuts for reasonable prices off post at other barber shops. But anyways, got the haircut, got the PT uniforms, super basic stuff initially, shoes, socks, and laundry bag. Then they took you into basically a large bay. I want to say I was on like maybe the second floor. I don't remember. I just remember we got there about, I want to say 2 o'clock in the morning. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, is when we finally got lights out, got to sleep. And then 4 o'clock in the morning is when we woke up. So I'm waking up 2 hours of sleep. I'm going into the bathroom, shaving, which was funny because I'm waking up and like, oh, I'm getting ready and whatnot. And I come out into the bay and like everybody is gone. So I'm like the last person to come down to the group. I guess you would call it a formation. It wasn't much of a formation yet. But we gathered in the lobby and formed a line. And so my experience with the 43rd was essentially that first night where we got a lot of the basics out of the way. The second day, this is where we got issued our CIF gear. This is where we got issued our uniforms. Then we had to take our uniforms to the alterations to get the name tapes and the U.S. Army and the flags sewn on. So if you're not keeping up with me, I enlisted when we still had BDUs. So obviously you had to get shoe shine stuff for your boots. You had to get the right boots. You had to get an extra pair of shoelaces. Going through all this, anything that got kind of screwed up, you would have to get fixed. So if you got your dog tags and they misspelled your name, you'd have to go back. If they got your social wrong, whatever. We were in an auditorium. They had us come up on stage. They had like this box. You would stand on it. They would tell you what type of arch or what type or category of shoe you would need, and then you would go buy. They would give you a list, category A, category B, C, whatever. And if you're category A, you were only allowed to buy running shoes from category A. So there were essentially two types of running shoes in basic training, and everybody had the exact same ones. So don't get them mixed up. But yeah, I've got a fun story. I'm gonna cover the rest of the 43rd and tell you basically how I ended up going through basic training without flags on one or two of my uniforms. That is entertaining to say the least. I'm going to tell you how I figured out the difference between summers and winters. If you're a BDU baby or a BDU veteran, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But all that in the next episode. So once again, if you find this entertaining to say the least, please leave us a 5-star review. Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's on Audible, it's on Amazon Prime, iTunes, wherever you're listening to it right now. Just hit subscribe. The audio podcast version is on Facebook. If you subscribe on Facebook, then you'll get notified whenever we release another episode. Tell your friends to subscribe as well. My name is Ryan Smeltz, and I will see you tomorrow on the next episode of War Story.